here to make the argument that most of the stuff that I put out there is opinion, commentary, however you want to term that. What's important to realize is what I'm not doing typically is presenting you with anything that could be accused of being news. Now don't get me wrong, I intersperse what would be considered news in some of the stuff that I do. That being said, most of what you're getting is as the subject of this piece implies, or really directly states, my opinion. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, that and a little bit more today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Monday, the 28th of June of 2021. Thank you for coming along today, whether it's on YouTube, on Rumble, on the podcast. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform, but obviously you can check me out wherever you can pick me up. Again, the subject of today's little piece is going to be my opinion. Let's get on with my notes. This video was inspired by a video that Tim Pool did in which he discusses opinion and news. Most of what you're going to hear from me is going to be opinion. I freely admit that's the case, and don't ask you to take anything I say as gospel. If I make what sounds like a statement of fact and don't back it up, by all means, do your own research. When I or anybody else says something about anything, don't just assume my or their rectitude. Check it. Check what they say. The point, if I or anybody else says something that is avowed, says something that is avowed that the person counts fact, never assume that's the case. How can you tell fact? News. You can argue that's news. From opinion? It's not always news, by the way, because some of it isn't new. You knew it already. But anyway, if they aren't willing to back up their statements with data of some kind, even if you agree with them, it's opinion. Until you can back it up, or if you have already, that's great. But the point is, when it's coming from that individual, it's opinion, at least until they're willing to do that. Okay, that's my statement about that. That's where I stand. Now, that's the end of my notes, so let's get on with the meat of what I'm saying here. I'm an opinion guy. Mostly what I do, mostly what you see, mostly what you hear from me, yep, it's opinion. That's how that works. So when you hear something from me, there are a couple of realities. One, you can just as easy tell me that I'm all wet and cite your own opinion, and maybe it'll cause me to change mine. Okay? I'm not saying that there's no fact associated with what I'm saying, but I am saying this: whether opinion or fact, you should check whether or not what I'm saying seems to be correct to you. Now, when it comes to opinion, you might just disagree with me, and that may be the end of it. When it comes to facts, you can typically check to see whether or not the facts are valid, and that's what you need to be doing. And here's the thing. When you look at a lot of people who are currently talking about all kinds of subjects, okay, you will hear them to be telling you that what they're expressing is news, and then they'll go right ahead and give you what amounts more or less to opinion, where they can't state any fact that backs up what they say. I've heard people say all kinds of horrible things about Donald Trump, for example. Some of them are probably true, but the fact of the matter is, in many instances, many of them are so much opinion that there's no way to really couch them as fact or news in any meaningful way. It's official. Donald Trump is the worst president of the recent era, whatever, right? What is that? What is that? Is that opinion or is it news? Unless you can give me some measurements by which you decide that Donald Trump is the worst president of the modern era, then I'm not even bothering to listen to any more from you. And by the way, that's the same for Joe Biden. I'm the same way. It's official. Joe Biden is the worst president in recent history. Even if I agree from an opinion perspective that that's true, that's not news. It's not news. Joe Biden may be, in my opinion, a horrible human being. May not be, maybe I'm not saying one way or another. My point is, If he's a horrible human being and I can't tell you why, I'm not giving you news. And as a rule, I would prefer, as a news person, what you do is stick to the facts. Now, I've said time and again that it's possible for a news person to stick to the facts and still do things like omit facts that they don't like and put in facts that they do to make it so that their reporting towards a given thing is slanted. I've said this any number of times, right? And I believe it's true. I believe that there's guilt by omission just as much as there's guilt by insertion, if you will, right? Where somebody puts something in there that's designed to make somebody look in a particular way, or takes something out, or doesn't include something where they want somebody to look a particular way. And if you knew the truth, it's like something that's actually been happening in what amounts to fact-finding in court cases recently, quite frankly, where people have left facts out or put facts in that they knew would exonerate someone or cause somebody to be considered guilty, one or the other, and it doesn't happen because the facts are not put out there as they ought to be, and the individual is therefore not treated as they ought to be either. Well, the same thing applies to news. News to me is about statements of fact. If you're stating your opinion, you're into editorialism. That's what you're doing at that point. That's not news, that's editorialism. Is there a place for editorialism? Absolutely. If there wasn't, I wouldn't have a, quote, job, right? Air quotes here. I wouldn't have a job in terms of my videos. Why would I do a video if there wasn't a place for editorialism if I've just told you that most of what I say is not news, even if it is fact? And some of it is fact and some of it's not, right? I'm not saying, all of my stuff is fact. I'm saying if something that I'm saying is fact, the fact that it is fact doesn't mean that it's news. But if something is news and it's not fact, it's really not news, it's somebody editorializing. And I'm just here to tell you that a lot of people on CNN and various other mainstream outlets are very much prone by this point to editorialism. Now you may say, well, what about the right-wing media? Well, the point is, if you look at somebody like Dan Bongino, right, or Ben Shapiro, Ben may state facts and he may do news things even as part of what he does, and Dan certainly will do the same. But the fact is, both of them, and by the way, Rush Limbaugh would have done the same, would have told you that they editorialize, that they're about editing, they're about presenting opinions about what's going on as much as they are about fact. Maybe not as much. It depends on who it is. Sometimes it's going to be more, sometimes it's going to be less. When Brian Stelter gets on CNN and starts editorializing, he's no longer doing news. He's an editorialist. He's an op-ed guy. That's what he is, opinion editorial, right? That's what he's doing. And the point is not that you shouldn't listen to Brian Stelter. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you should recognize to whom you are listening. I'm going to tell you right now, you listen to Dan Bongino, Dinesh D'Souza, you listen to Rush Limbaugh back when, you listen to whoever else, Ben Shapiro, whoever. I have news for you. They're doing op-ed as well as news. You have to learn to separate those two in your head because they're not the same. Same applies to Brian Stelter, what's her name, the Rachel Maddow, and so many others that people are taking for news sources. These people aren't news sources, or at least not completely so, even if they're partially so. And there's really a question on both sides as to whether or not they're presenting the news. And that's why you must take the time to figure out what's news, what's opinion, and by the way, among the things that are supposed to be news, what is actually correct, what is true, what is right, and what is not. Because people are going to present things, and some of the things that they're going to present, quite frankly, they're going to be outright lies. Oh, Russian collusion in the Trump administration. Really? Show me where there was anything that said that actually happened. Show me. Show me. Because nobody was ever charged on anything but process crimes in that entire thing. Okay. So again, what you need to learn to do is in your mind separate news from opinion, separate fact from ideas and concepts and so forth that aren't really proven. Separate those two. And I don't care if you're listening to the middle, the right, or the left, you need to be able to do that. I need to go ahead and wrap things up. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host, I'm Kurt. It is Monday, the 28th of June today. I had to think about that for just a second. Thank you for everybody who's been here on Rumble on the podcast and on YouTube. Thanks for coming along today. Thanks for watching my videos. Remember, you can give me a positive rumble on Rumble or a negative one if you choose to do so. You can give me a thumbs up or a like or a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube if you want to do that. And you can comment on both Rumble and YouTube. Hopefully you're having a good day today and things are going well for you. And hopefully we will see you again on Tuesday's edition of the Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Monday, June 28th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.